Hey, welcome back to The Dive. Our guest today will deep dive into Bitcoin and Ethereum, as well as the company's recent share consolidation, their May production update, Bitcoin's correlation to tech stocks, and what investors should look out for with the company over the near term. He's the chairman of the board of HIVE Blockchain Technologies. Frank Holmes is joining us today. And he's also giving away some free hats, so stay tuned till the end to see how you can get one. Hey Frank, welcome back to The Dive.
It's great to be back with y'all.
Yeah, it's so great to have you back today. Okay, so let's dive right into it. According to a report released by the FTC, more than 46,000 people say that they lost over $1 billion in crypto to scams since the start of 2021. To avoid being scammed, the FTC says that people should understand that investments never have guaranteed returns. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, there's a great statement that you guys put in all disclosures that past performance is no guarantee of future results. And I think when you're speculating, people have to recognize they've been speculating. And they should deal with reputable companies and reputable, there's so many reputable opportunities. So I'm sad for them. But the real big crisis really took place when Coinbase's stable coins, they had a quant model, and that blew up on them. And we saw the unraveling. But a lot of people that lost money came from the people that made so much money in crypto, and they went and parked it over here. So it's like we're voyeurs watching a crisis that took place, but it was in that own ecosystem, its own metaverse.
So Bitcoin is back at its $30,000 price level. What do you think needs to happen for Bitcoin to go back to its all-time highs?
To go back to the all-time highs is going to have to be a sentiment change. There's just a real push, as you can see, of the EU policymakers, and you can see it in Canada. You saw it in New York State just recently, anti-crypto political statements everywhere. And the thought process is that Ripple, which is not really a true crypto coin, is basically being sued by the SEC for a huge pump and dump, is what it was alleged. And so, in my opinion, there is a push by the regulator of the SEC that want to call anything that's a proof of stake as a security, whereas proof of work, where you buy mining equipment, digital ASIC chips, and electricity, and you make a digital asset, that is being to be regulated by the CFTC, basically. So it's over in another regulatory world. And that's where the futures market is right now for Bitcoin and Ethereum. So this debate is really fascinating to see, because there's so much FUD on the consumption of electricity. And what's interesting on this sort of FUD is it's been said that, and I don't know these for facts, and it's a lot of rumors, but they come from very strong, high billionaire resources. I mean, people that are billionaires that give me this content, that Ripple gave $5 million to Greenpeace to come out and tell them to try to redo the Bitcoin code. It's like saying, let's make a fake gold. So it looks like gold, and therefore it has to be gold. I just don't think that that's really going to work. But we do know that a lot of people use NGOs to sabotage or disrupt an industry. The biggest guy has been Putin. Now, Putin's KGB strategies was funding all these crazy NGOs in Europe, and it panicked all Germany, and they shut down all the nuclear reactors, and so did Spain. And electricity bills are up 600%. And Putin outsmarted them all because he wanted to make reliable on his oil and gas. So you're seeing that the same thing happens from Cuba to Venezuela. And then Chavez took his money and was funding NGOs throughout Latin and Central America, who then fund unions. They put the money, and then they fund politicians to come into power. That's happened in Peru. It's happened in Chile. It's happened in Nicaragua. So you do have this model of funding NGOs to spread all this sort of false and uncertain and doubting statements. So that's all been impacting crypto at the same time. But the adoption continues to grow. Even PayPal yesterday allows you to move your coins out to another wallet. We're continuing to see the whole world adopt it. And I love the president of the EU with her Hermes scarf on and all her beautiful Gucci and Prada designer stuff, talking about energy prices and Bitcoin, and talk about it's just, there's so much hypocrisy in what these people are saying. The other big part is the World Economic Forum. The crypto ecosystem, in particular in Canada, really understands the World Economic Forum has been coming out with these beautiful wordsmithing to basically take away private property rights and saying that in 20 years, you'll have no assets, no anything, but you'll be happy because the government's going to be taking care of you, which is right now, if you're Canadian and trying to get your passport updated, it's impossible. So don't let the government think they're going to take care of you, except for slap on a 25% petroleum tax on April the 1st. So you're seeing this sort of FUD, I call it, as other people in the crypto space. But what's really important for your listeners is that we're in a super cycle for inflation. And we've had 40 years of declining rates, and now we're going to see rising rates, and rates have not gone up closely enough. So if you can turn around and borrow a mortgage for 5% for 10 years, do it, because inflation, the real inflation is 17%. The reported inflation is 8 or 9%. So you can still borrow below the inflationary rate. Now, why do I believe inflation is going to stay? Because I believe, and I've written about this, that government policies are a precursor to change. So we monitor both monetary and fiscal policies. The climate change, global climate change policies are extremely inflationary. I'll repeat, extremely inflationary. And all this inflation we're seeing now can be directly tied back to these climate change policies. Now they're looking to have nuclear reactors again because they shut it down in their panic on climate change policies. The 25% tax in Canada on April the 1st on your gas pump and for your home if you're using oil or natural gas, they're looking to have to pull that back. But there's so many things that are embedded that are just going to drive inflation for the next 10 years. So that means gold assets, crypto assets, especially the digital assets, the Bitcoins and the are going to be extremely valuable over this next decade.
So you're saying you think investors should stick to Bitcoin despite the recent crash and current downtrend?
I really believe that we're in these big super cycles. So the moves. Now we've had a big correction in Robinhood. That is down like 70%, like HIVE Blockchain and some of the other crypto companies. It's really remarkable to see that the correlation. So to help your listeners, the correlation of Bitcoin to the tech 100 biggest stocks is 93%. The correlation of all the crypto mining stocks to Bitcoin are over 90%. So we can see the sentiment of anti-tech and rising interest rates, but really it has more about China was after all the tech stocks. Now, yesterday, the EU comes out against Apple for what their adopters are, but they've been anti the technology, US technology stocks. This is all sentiment driven. So I think that there's just great buying opportunities. I know for Hive, we're still making great money. Every day we wake up, we made $250,000 yesterday. So I remain very bullish on it. It just shocks me of seeing the heavy shorting position. Now, you asked a question about Bitcoin. Bitcoin's overall cost around the world to mine one Bitcoin is $31,000. So under 31,000, we'll start to see people shutting down, and we'll see that difficulty drop. And so that seems to me to be a base level. The buying of the Bitcoin machines, they haven't come down enough. So you buy them by a terahash, is what they call this machine, how you price them. And they went from $20 a terahash to $120 a terahash. Now they're down to $60 a terahash, and you can buy some deals at 35, at 45. But really, you have to get these terahash at this Bitcoin price down to about 30. And this is just a normal, like they call it a cycle. So we've been very reluctant to go and buy in these S19s that are out there. We did the deal with Intel because it was 40% cheaper, 40% more energy efficient. And we got our money back when we start mining within 9 months, 9 to 12 month range. And so that's a better deal. Whereas if you went out and bought these other machines that like Bitmain, you get a 2-year payback. So I'm very sensitive where Hive position. But Hive has been really pounded by US shorting, I was told. You saw Memorial Day when the US was closed and Bitcoin was up modestly in Ethereum. Hive jumped 17% in Canada. And soon as the next day, US opens up, sell, 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 sell. The short position is something like 25% of its daily trading volume. And so that mechanism of one analyst told me there's lots of illegal shorting. All the analysts now that cover the space are bearish. That's all the best way, because by the time they get bullish, it's too late. Hive's already quadrupled. But Hive did roll back its stock, and there's several reasons. And one was, if you're below $2 for long on Nasdaq, they tell you have to do it. And two, if you go below $1, they're going to delist you. So I do not control the illegal shorting or the shorting of Hive that was taking place. And if you want to get institutional sponsorship in America, you have to be over $5. There's many brokers that will not give margin, or they won't even let you buy a stock unless it's over $5. So we said, okay, let's do it now, get it, roll it back, and then it still fell more. But our profits didn't really change to the degree, except for Bitcoin went down, so our revenue dropped. But our margins naturally had to compress. But still, we're the most profitable crypto mining company. We still have the highest efficiency. So we produce something like 273 Bitcoin and almost 27 Ethereum. But if you converted our Ethereum to Bitcoin, we're the biggest producer. We're doing 15 Bitcoin a day. And so our cost to mine these coins is less than $8,000.
Now, the Bitcoin network difficulty increased as much as 5% during the month of May. How does this affect miners like Hive?
Well, it does affect it, but we've been increasing our production. So even in the first quarter, we announced we increased our Ethereum production by 30%. The difficulty in Ethereum went up by 15%, but our production went up. And then the same thing with Bitcoin. We're now at 2.3, 2.4 exahash. So we can continue to bring in better, and we're getting rid of inferior machines of mining Bitcoin. We sell those. We take money and we turn around and upgrade as we're having new machines coming in from M30s and some of the Bitmains and Canons that are more efficient machines are replacing some of our older machinery. So that's what we're focusing on, is squeezing as much as margin as we can. The biggest headache has been really energy prices have been unstable in places like New Brunswick. We have a fixed and a variable. Fortunately, we hedged most of our energy. We did expand in Sweden, but we roll it over each year, and we fix it at 3 cents. Energy prices went to 14 cents in Sweden. So that's allowed us to have a high margin profit.
Now, you mentioned that the company took some profits from Ethereum to fund your Intel strategic relationship and the building of new Bitcoin miners. Why is that? What really led you to this move?
Well, we've always used Ethereum because it's more volatile, and we can mine it the least. I mean, Ethereum at 2,000, our cost is $300 to mine it. So we have a high margin on that business. And so this whole thesis of proof of stake, proof of work. Will it go to proof of stake? It's supposed to happen last year this time. It still hasn't happened. It's supposed to happen today. It still hasn't happened. And so there's a great risk if they do this, that Ethereum prices actually could fall, because there's 30 million, they call them gamers around the world, that mine Ethereum as a hobby. And there could be the selling pressure to it. So I said, let's use this, which we have. Last year we hodled 25,000 coins, and it went up 300%. Bitcoin went up 80%. So all that inexpensive mining, and we capitalized on it. And I think that that's what it shows up in the bottom line, is that we have the highest cash flow returns on invested capital.
Okay. So in May, Hive produced, you mentioned, 273 Bitcoin and just under 27,000 Ethereum. How does the company plan to utilize these mined coins?
Well, we sell as our Ethereum that we need to cover all of our electricity costs and expansion. We still have 10,000, 15,000 or something. I can't give the exact number. I haven't looked at it in the past a week or so. But we will trade what we need to build out our Bitcoin production profile.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So one more thing before we let you go here, Frank. What should investors be looking out for with the company over the near term?
Well, that's a great question, because it's extremely oversold. If you look at what they call the RSI 14 days, we're down that only 5 times in the past, I think, 8 years. If you look at Ethereum and Bitcoin prices, so extremely oversold are the prices. Any rebound in the prices, the stocks will move much more, I believe, than Ethereum Bitcoin prices. So I think that the miners as a whole industry have much in the upside, and I think that Hive is have the biggest. And we're going to maintain our ESG green strategy. We're disappointed that we don't get a premium for it. Not only with the highest value, we have the lowest PE ratio, lowest cash flow multiple. So I think it's at less than 3 times they say cash flow. It's a very attractive valuation metric. And if you're oversold, and what we like to write about are called oscillators. We look at the 60-day rate of change for Bitcoin for 10 years and Ethereum, and look at, and it basically says 70% of the time it can fall 1 standard deviation. We're now down 2 standard deviations. So if Bitcoin's down 2 standard deviations, Ethereum's down 2 standard deviations, mathematically, there's an 85% probability over the next 60 trading days of a mean reversion of 35% in the coins, which could be 100% move in Ethereum, in Hive. That's the potential for this. So if you're a contrarian, anytime it moves up 2 standard deviations, sell. Anytime it falls 2 standard deviations, you buy. And it doesn't happen often. You get these outer ranges to make great contrarian trades. And we're in that position today. But I think for all your investors, we're going to go into a gold cycle. There's just no doubt about it. And there's just so many great gold mining companies in the universe that we look at, and the royalty companies of what they're doing. So we think that there'll be this sort of concept of people saying, oh, inflation is not short term. This is a real super cycle. It's tied to climate change. And as long as climate change policies and regulations continue to grow and continue to be implemented, then inflation will continue to rise, and people will run to assets like gold and crypto as a way to defense their portfolio. And I think then all of a sudden, crypto mining stocks like Hive will move away from just being a tech stock.
Okay, great. Well, Frank, thank you so much for coming on today and giving us the update. It's always great to hear your thoughts, and I really love the new hats.
Thank you. Thank you. Any of your listeners want to reach out to us, we'll send a message to you. You send them to us, their name and their contacts, and we'll get them a hat.
Awesome. Thanks, Frank. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much for tuning in today. We'll be back again tomorrow with the latest news and updates. So be sure to follow along by hitting that notification bell, subscribing below, and let us know in the comments what you think.